So Bernie dropped out. What does that mean? Well, it means that Joe Biden is the Democratic candidate for the U.S. president, as far as we know. And it means Trump is most likely to win in November. Sorry, Biden is an awful candidate. But if you truly believe in the message of Bernie's campaign, not me, us, and fight for someone who isn't you, fight for someone you don't know, I'm sorry, my friends, you have to vote for Biden. I know. He's a rapist. He's a segregationist. He eulogized Strom Thurmond. But he's not Trump. And I know, again, that's such a low bar. But I've seen a lot of head-ass takes on Twitter and Facebook. Shit like this. And while I agree, direct action, dual support structures are important and things we need to work on building, we still need to be involved in electoralism. Because if we don't get involved with politics, particularly at the local level, then all of our direct action will be for naught. Because our enemies, reactionaries, fascists, conservatives of all stripes, will have the power. And they will be able to institute changes that make it difficult, if not impossible, for us to speak, to meet, to do all these sorts of things. So when you go to the ballot box, I implore you, vote for Joe Biden. It sucks, but it is the situation we are in. Now, do I think Biden has a chance in hell? No. I'll be totally honest with you. And as leftists, we're going to be blamed no matter what happens. If by some miracle Trump has alienated enough people that he loses in November, then the establishment will say, see, we didn't need you, Bernie Bros. We didn't need you to win. And if they lose, it's because you Bernie Bros stayed home. From their perspective, it doesn't matter what we actually do. So it is about your personal feelings and how your actions impact the world. And if you vote for Howie Hawkins or Mickey Mouse or just leave the presidential ballot blank, you are ceding power to the right. Not as much as long as you vote down ballot. It is absolutely important, perhaps more important, that we flip the Senate, because at least then we can try to stonewall Trump's actions. But it is very important, my friends, my comrades, that we not abandon the electoralism. Look, I want a revolution as much as anyone. But the fact of the matter is, right now, most people do not have sufficient class consciousness for a socialist revolution. Maybe they will in 5 years. And hey, maybe coronavirus is the catalyst and people will learn and we will be able to change society that way. But I'm not counting on it. Don't think we're going to be taken to the ramparts anytime soon. Biden is a bad candidate, but he is better than Trump. I know Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas, eulogizing segregationists, being a segregationist himself. Biden has said that he would be a Republican, except that Republicans didn't get elected in Delaware. So he signed up as a Democrat, which means ultimately that he's from the old school of Republicans, which are still racist, bigoted assholes, but they know how to keep it under wraps. Although I'm not going to promote what he will likely do in office, his rhetoric will not be encouraging the kind of hate crimes and issues that we see from Trump. He will not be up there on stage talking about China flu. He will not be up there talking about how when Mexico sends their people, they're sending rapists and criminals and murderers and thieves. And some, I assume, are good people. That's not the kind of rhetoric we'll get with Biden. I'm not saying we're going to get good rhetoric, but it won't be the kind of rhetoric which empowers racists and creates fascists. Join your DSA. Join the IWW. I have done both, and I will be working with them to build the kind of power structures we need to actually resist the Trump administration and create a better world for everyone. Remember, that's Bernie's message in a nutshell. That is what he was fighting for. Let's create a better world for everyone. How many times on Twitter or Facebook did you say to some shithead chud who talked about how Bernie was just a do-nothing commie or an angry old man screaming at clouds? How many times did you say, it's okay, buddy, we're making a better world for you too? I know I did. A lot. And I will continue to say that because I will continue to do that. I've seen a lot of people, I'm not going to name names because they're comrades, but a lot of people saying things like, I don't know what to do without Bernie. Same thing we were doing before Bernie. Well, no, not the same thing we were doing before Bernie, because unfortunately, the left was asleep before Bernie came to power. Bernie brought our beliefs, our positions, into the mainstream. And it is up to us, as that grassroots movement, to carry on in his stead. We can't fall into despair. We knew it was an uphill battle. 4 months ago, even the most ardent leftists I know and watch and talk to said, Bernie's going to do some good things, but he doesn't have a chance. Then Iowa happened. And New Hampshire, which we knew was pretty solidly going to be Bernie, but then Nevada happened. And we were like, wait, this could actually happen. And we started celebrating. You don't start celebrating until you've won. And as Super Tuesday showed, the establishment, at least on the liberal side, knows what they have to do to stop an unpopular populist. Which ultimately is what Bernie was. Yes, 10 million donations, incredible support among the youth. People under 50. That's not really youth anymore, is it? But for the majority of people, the hidden tribes of America, Bernie was unpopular. This is actually an interesting website I came across. Doesn't matter where. And it talks about the different factions of people in America. Now, this is from 2018, so it doesn't have the incredible push Bernie created. But one thing it does demonstrate is the number of people who are either indifferent, the percentage of the population, I should say, who are indifferent or hostile to Bernie's rhetoric. And it starts, you can see over here, this is functionally a left-to-right axis done vertically. Progressive activists, socialists and leftists. The deck is stacked against people of color, against women, against people who don't have the advantages that others have. It's not an egalitarian society by any means. 8% of Americans. Now, this uses polling data and election data and surveys and things of that nature to come to these conclusions. 8% of Americans, those are the die-hard Bernie supporters. Main concerns are climate change, inequality, and poverty. Strong ideological views, high levels of engagement with political issues, and the highest levels of education and socioeconomic status. That's not necessarily true anymore. If there's one thing Bernie did, it was bringing socio-political engagement to groups that didn't see a point. Why should we engage with politics when it doesn't care about us? Bernie made people care about them. He made people care about politics. I've said it before, other people have said it, I'll say it again. Bernie will go down in history as the most influential leftist to ever run for president. The most influential person as far as improving society to ever run for president. I hope someone unseats him someday. I hope someone goes further. But remember, he was a hair's breadth from the White House. No socialist has ever gone that far in American politics or any other industrialized Western nation. Oh, sure, there are democratic socialists and social democrats in Europe. I'm sorry, friends. Bernie was more than that. You can tell by his actions, by his statements, by his proposals he made that were obviously just conversation starters. He's a socialist. He is at least what is now termed a libertarian socialist, if not full-on eat the rich, guillotine the billionaires, and seize the means of production, actual factual socialist. But of course, actual factual socialists don't get elected in America. I mean, except that they do. Heard of the Rose Caucus? This was started by Lee Carter, Joshua Collins, and other socialist people running for Congress. This is part of what we need. We need people like Kshama Sawant. She is a city council member in Seattle who's part of the Socialist Alternative. The Socialist Alternative is another third party similar to Democratic Socialists of America who are trying to create a proper left party in America. Because right now, we don't have a left party in America. We have the Republicans who are so far right they're off the scale. We have Democrats who are liberal at best. I've used this picture on Twitter a lot, but it describes our American system very well. This is the perception that Stephen Miller, Trump, McConnell, all these people over here are on the right or far right. And then Biden is in the center, Hillary's a little left of center, and Obama is to the left, and Warren is in the far left, but closer to the center, and Bernie is on the far left as well. It's not. Bernie was a radical, I'll give him that, but only really by American politics. Because this is what it really is. Biden, yeah, he's over here pushing far right. He's a conservative. The only reason he has a D next to his name is because that's what was necessary to win in Delaware. Obama, Clinton, they're right of center. I mean, they're ultimately technocratic, centrist moderates, but they governed to the right of center. And Warren? Warren put on a progressive coat just like she put on a Native American coat to get into Harvard. And Bernie, like I said, Bernie's personal politics, I think, are somewhere over here. But his proposals, his rhetoric, the way he governs, left of center. I mean, true center, where you're not liberal but only just. And honestly, I think that's why he lost. But to all the people out there who like to say Bernie is the compromise, Bernie is a moderate, prove it. Step up. Start the organizations or join an existing organization. Not everyone is good at starting organizations, but find one. The DSA is a good place to start. Get on social media, find like-minded people, and help to build the better world that we were all working for with Bernie outside of the presidential election. We can't afford to go back to sleep. We can't afford to rest. And if you think somehow letting Trump have 4 more years because you can't stomach voting for a rapist, I'm sorry your feelings are hurt, but this is the world we live in. And if we want to make it a better place, if we want to create a world where someone who is credibly accused of rape has no chance at the presidency, unfortunately, we have to grin and bear it and vote for the lesser rapist. It hurts. There's a TikTok that says voting for Joe Biden, and it's a girl who's doing a scratchy, hesitant check mark while sobbing. If that's what you have to do it. But we cannot allow Trump to have 4 more years. We cannot allow Trump to choose Ruth Bader Ginsburg's successor. We cannot allow Trump to continue to stuff lower-level judgeships with more and more conservative judges who are going to rule against the rights of every American. A lot of blue-check liberals and other liberals like to talk about Harry Potter and how their favorite politician is like such and such from Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd. I was heavily involved in the fan fiction community in college. I love the platonic ideal of Harry Potter. But there's a phrase there, and it may not have originated there, but it's where I came across it first. It is better to do what is right than what is easy. And it is very easy to stay home and not vote and say that my conscience is clear. Or to vote for Howie Hawkins or Vermin Supreme or Mickey Mouse or whomever you think best represents your beliefs. And in a normal situation, I would even support that. But we're not in a normal situation. We have a fascist in the White House with a white nationalist as a senior advisor. We have a pandemic which is killing 1,000 people a day. We have a Congress which thinks it's acceptable to, having received information that this pandemic was coming and that it was going to be bad, chose, instead of letting the people know that this pandemic was coming and doing what was necessary to mitigate it, as was done with every other pandemic which has approached the U.S. shores, they chose to keep it quiet and sell off stock and buy off other stock which is only going to go up if the pandemic gets bad. And we have a Congress that, if they're not those people, they're people who see no point in actively resisting them. We need to change that. And change starts at home. Change starts with your local elections. Find out who your local representatives, your local city council people are. Find out who's on the school board and if they're doing things that are right for the kids. Make sure they're being taught real science and real history. Get involved so that the 19% of traditional Americans, and so that the quarter of the country who wants to drive us back to the 1950s doesn't. Because remember that these votes are going to happen anyway. There's going to be someone in that position. I would rather have leftists fill every political position, every police station, every landlord slot, and every corporation. Because if there's leftists in power, even under the existing system, they will help to create change. Yes, I know. Landlords are evil and need to be destroyed. I don't exactly disagree. We should remove the institution of landlords. But while we were in this world, we need to work within it. And if that means owning property, investing in the stock market so that you can create a life and use your wealth and privilege to help others, do so. Also consider that there is a quarter of the country, according to this study, that is actively opposing us, but there's another 40% who are not actively opposing us, but are okay with the status quo, politically disengaged, and moderates. These groups are people who maybe they watch the evening news, maybe they read CNN.com or MSNBC.com, maybe they visit those and see what happens. But they don't dig deep. They don't know who their representatives are. They don't know who their governor is. They may not know who their mayor is. These are the kind of people we can reach with empathy, honesty, integrity, and good rhetoric. One thing that I think a lot of people claimed was an issue with Bernie was his lack of desire for compromise. And this is a red herring. Bernie was more than willing to compromise, to a point. But he wouldn't compromise enough to get the mainstream support behind him, at least the DNC support. So we must be similarly willing to fall for our beliefs, because that's the only way we prove that we actually believe in them. That's the thing that pisses a lot of people off about Nancy Pelosi and the other neoliberal Congress people like her, is that they claim to have principles, but time and again, they compromise to get things done, but not good things. Everyone knows that Obama came to the table with a Heritage Foundation plan with a single-payer option, and it was compromised down to the blowjob for the insurance agencies, which was the ACA. Now, let me be clear here. The ACA did a lot of good, but ultimately all it did was make it so that insurance companies had a guaranteed stream of profit. Now, I don't know what would have happened if Obama had actually had the beliefs and principles he claimed to on the campaign trail in 2008. After all, he ran as a progressive. He ran as someone who believed that we needed great structural change. And we did back in 2008. We need it even more so now. But imagine if he had been willing to say, this is the plan I want, and I will not compromise on that. Maybe the ACA wouldn't have passed. Maybe he would have been able to bully more of the blue dog Democrats into coming over. But our system is broken. Staying home in November or throwing away your vote on a third party will not help fix it. It will only break it further. I'm sorry if that hurts. That's reality. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked it, like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you. See you next time.